Kashmir has had a history of being an independent kingdom, a sovereign state in every sense, and whosoever tried to control it, whether it was Mughals or the Afghans or the Sikhs or later the Dogras, has had problems, post 1846 when Gulab Singh purchased Kashmir from Britishers, and it became Jammu and Kashmir. So the entirety Jammu and Kashmir is a recent happening. It's just, you may say, 170 years old. The long suppressed soul of Kashmir, I would say, had a cry of anguish virtually in 1931 when there was a regularization of the protest with the formation of a resistance movement in Kashmir, which has passed through various stages, but I would say it's still continuing. Well, 1971, Pakistan was on a very weak wicket, you can say, a sticky wicket. But Pakistan even then did not relent 100%. The only point on which they relented was converting CFL, ceasefire line, into line of control. Jammu and Kashmir as such remained unrepresented. Any conference that you take, when India and Pakistan meet or they decide to meet at all, even to sit down and disagree or state their point of view, not go beyond that, Jammu and Kashmir has never been a part of it.
Welcome to The Explainer. Usually we're diving deep into data, complex policies, or hard numbers. But today we're doing something a bit different, but absolutely crucial. We're dedicating this explainer to a heartfelt tribute. We're going to explore the life and really the immense legacy of an extraordinary figure, Dr. Javid Iqbal. The source text we're looking at today obviously mourns his recent passing in 2026, but, well, more importantly, it celebrates him. It celebrates a physician, a scholar, and a writer whose entire existence was literally a masterclass in serving humanity. It paints this incredibly vivid picture of a man whose life wasn't just lived, but deliberately dedicated to knowledge, to compassion, and to the people around him. Okay, let's dive right into this. The author roots this entire tribute in one extremely powerful idea, and it's this: true greatness lies not in what one accumulates, but in what one gives. Think about that for a second. In a world that is so often obsessed with measuring success by what we gather for ourselves, right? Wealth, titles, recognition, the author argues that Dr. Iqbal's life proves the exact opposite. His life stands as a rock-solid testament to the idea that greatness is entirely about what you give away. And actually, this isn't just some nice-sounding platitude. As we'll see, it was basically the operating system for his entire 70-plus years on this earth. The source text really emphasizes that Dr. Iqbal's passing isn't just the loss of a successful professional. It describes his departure as marking the end of an era. It's left this profound void in Kashmir's intellectual and cultural history. We aren't just talking about a gap in a hospital roster here or a missing name in some university catalog. No, we are talking about the loss of a rare human being, someone whose daily impact literally illuminated the path of wisdom and service for an entire region. To truly grasp the magnitude of this individual, the text gives us a specific lens to look through: altruism. It states that he completely embodied the highest ideals of altruistic human conduct. And how are we defining altruism here? It's the selfless use of one's gifts for the betterment of others. Notice that word gifts, plural, because Dr. Iqbal wasn't just handed one talent. The man had many. And his life was this unwavering, laser-focused commitment to using every single one of those gifts, his knowledge and his energy, specifically to uplift the society around him. So let's start with his first major gift, medicine. After earning his MBBS degree from Government Medical College in Srinagar way back in 1969, Dr. Iqbal devoted decades to the healing profession. But the text makes a really vital distinction here. His practice of medicine extended far beyond clinical duties. He didn't just see it as a job. He viewed healing as a sacred responsibility. It was a deeply empathetic calling to care for the actual human being sitting in front of him, not just, treating a biological symptom and moving on. And this dedication, it built into a truly global impact. Born in Srinagar, he earned that medical degree by 1969. But his altruism definitely didn't let him just stay in his comfort zone. No way. His commitment to treating patients rippled outward, taking him all the way from Kashmir to Iran and even to Libya. He was literally carrying this philosophy of selfless healing across borders, impacting lives in diverse communities and cultures over decades of service. Now, what's really striking about the author's language here is the specific way they describe his medical approach. It wasn't just described as effective or efficient. The text says it was approached with empathy, dignity, and genuine concern. Imagine being sick, feeling totally vulnerable. Maybe you're far from home, and encountering a physician who treats you not as a chart on a clipboard, but with profound, genuine concern for your dignity. That is a rare kind of care, for sure, and it was the baseline standard for how he treated every single patient. But listen, medicine was only one chapter of his story. We absolutely have to look at his profound intellectual life. The text notes that he was the son of the eminent educationist, Professor Saifuddin. So from his father, Dr. Javid inherited this deep, almost spiritual reverence for learning. But again, staying totally true to his altruistic nature, he didn't hoard this learning. He didn't lock himself in an ivory tower. He transformed it into a lifelong mission of public enlightenment. He became a scholar for the people. I mean, just look at the linguistic mastery he achieved. The man was gifted with fluency in Kashmiri, Urdu, Persian, Arabic, and English. Mastering 5 languages, that takes an incredible amount of dedication. But in the context of his life, these languages were tools. They were bridges. They allowed him to access a massive, rich array of human thought across different cultures and eras, and then, this is the key part, translate and share those insights with his community. And the breadth of what he studied with those languages is just staggering. His scholarship traversed literature, history, philosophy, science, religion, economics, politics, contemporary affairs. He had specific expertise in Iqbaliyat, Persian literature, Islamic civilization, and Kashmiri society. He took all of this immense knowledge and synthesized it. He wrote hundreds of newspaper columns, scholarly essays, lectures, and books. In an age that's so often characterized by division, the text points out that he was this vital, anchoring voice of moderation and intellectual integrity. So, the crucial point is this. Why? Why did he do all of this studying and writing? The author gives us the answer clear as day. He believed that knowledge carried a moral responsibility. He didn't write to see his name in print or to stack up awards. He sought understanding among people, rather than recognition for himself. For Dr. Iqbal, being smart just wasn't enough. If your intellect didn't educate, inspire, and serve humanity, you weren't fulfilling its purpose. Which brings us to perhaps the most beautiful pillar of his life, according to this tribute, his radical humility. It is so easy for someone with this level of academic and professional achievement to become unapproachable, to let it go to their head. But despite his remarkable accomplishments, the text insists that Dr. Javid remained profoundly humble. His massive achievements were completely, 100% matched by his modesty. When you look at a resume like his, 5 languages, international physician, hundreds of publications, you might expect to meet an imposing, maybe even intimidating scholar. But the reality for anyone who actually knew him was totally different. They encountered a compassionate listener, a thoughtful mentor, a gentle soul deeply concerned with the everyday struggles of regular people. He was just incredibly accessible. The text makes it absolutely clear that while Kashmir has lost a devoted son, his legacy, it is not gone. It is an enduring intellectual and moral heritage. His life lives on through his vast readership, his students, his ideas, and the countless individual lives he touched with his generosity and simple acts of kindness. He enriched public discourse, he educated the curious, and he encouraged the young. That kind of impact doesn't just end, it echoes. The tribute closes with this incredibly powerful thought, basically a summary of everything Dr. Iqbal stood for, that knowledge, when guided by compassion and selflessness, becomes one of humanity's greatest gifts. It's the ultimate synthesis of his mind and his heart. Intelligence alone can only take us so far, right? But when it is tethered to a genuine love for other people, it becomes a light that inspires generations. So we arrive at the end of this explainer. But really, the text leaves us with a beginning. By studying the altruistic life of Dr. Javid Iqbal, we're challenged to look in the mirror. We may not master 5 languages or practice medicine across 3 countries, but we all have gifts. So the question his life leaves us with is this: how will you use your gifts to serve others?
He is using the physician's lens to diagnose history and literature.
Yes, exactly. But the true engine of his depth was his linguistic mastery. Think about how we usually consume history or philosophy from other cultures. We read translations,
Which is essentially playing a high-stakes game of telephone.
Precisely. When you read a translated text, you are entirely at the mercy of the translator's biases,
Yeah.
their historical context, and their limitations.
Yeah.
You lose the cultural idioms, the rhythm, the emotional resonance of the original words.
Something's always lost.
Always. Translating complex philosophical poetry is inherently reductive. But by mastering Arabic and Persian, Dr. Iqbal possessed the master keys to bypass the gatekeepers. He wasn't relying on a modern, watered-down summary of a 12th century philosophical text. He was reading the primary sources directly.
So he was interrogating the original text with the same rigorous analytical mind he brought to a medical chart.
Yeah, let's look at how those specific languages work together. Knowing Arabic unlocks the foundational historical, religious, and scientific bedrock of Islamic civilization.
Right.
Knowing Persian unlocks centuries of the most complex, nuanced, poetic, and philosophical thought. Urdu and Kashmiri ground him in the immediate cultural and social reality of his community.
And English.
English connects him to the global, rapidly advancing world of modern science. By holding all those keys simultaneously, he could see how ancient philosophical wisdom aligned with modern scientific realities.
I want to circle back to something you mentioned a moment ago.
Sure.
The source says he was an expert in Iqbaliyat. For anyone listening who isn't familiar with that term, we really need to break that down.
Yeah, so Iqbaliyat is the comprehensive study of the works, philosophy, and poetry of Allama Muhammad Iqbal, who was a monumental philosopher-poet of the 20th century. Allama Iqbal's philosophy is dense, but at its core, it revolves around the concept of khudi.
Khudi.
Yes, which translates roughly to selfhood, self-actualization, or the spiritual ego.
Got it.
It is a philosophy that demands kinetic action. It argues that the highest spiritual achievement isn't passively retreating from the world to meditate, right?
It's the opposite.
Exactly. It is actively engaging with the world, strengthening your inner self, and striving to uplift humanity.
Think about how that specifically intersects with his day job. A conventional doctor looks at a patient and sees a biological machine that is currently malfunctioning.
Right, a broken part.
Right. A pump needs fixing. A chemical imbalance needs correcting. But a doctor who has spent decades internalizing the philosophy of khudi looks at that same patient and sees an active spiritual entity with immense potential,
Yes.
whose current physical suffering is an obstacle to their self-actualization.
The medical textbook provides the mechanics of what a heart attack is, right? But the poetry and philosophy provide the vocabulary for the sheer terror and vulnerability of a failing heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And Dr. Iqbal merged both. That is how studying philosophy made him a sharper, more effective healer.
That really paints a vivid picture of the internal machinery of his mind. But the source makes it abundantly clear that accumulating this incredible wealth of knowledge was only half the equation.
Right.
I mean, you could easily lock yourself in a study, read original Persian manuscripts all day, and feel highly superior to everyone else.
People do it all the time.
Yeah, but Dr. Iqbal viewed hoarding intellect as a disservice.
He views it as a moral failing.
Wow.
The document states his core philosophical belief was that knowledge carries a moral responsibility. Its primary utility is to educate, inspire, and serve humanity. He was always aiming for mutual understanding rather than personal recognition.
Which moves us from extraction to distribution.
Yeah.
Like, how did he actually give all this knowledge away? The text states he shared his insights generously through hundreds of newspaper columns, scholarly essays, lectures, and books.
It's an incredible output.
Truly, he stood as a voice of moderation, wisdom, and intellectual integrity in a world often defined by division and self-interest.
Well, and consider the friction involved in doing that. He is operating at the highest levels of academia, untangling dense philosophical and historical concepts.
Right.
The easiest thing to do would be to publish in exclusive, paywalled academic journals where only his peers could applaud him.
The echo chamber.
Exactly. Instead, he chose to write newspaper columns. He intentionally took on the incredibly difficult cognitive task of translating high-level, complex thought into accessible daily language for the general public.
He literally brought the wisdom of the centuries to the breakfast table.
He really did.
That requires an immense amount of humility.
Humility is the defining trait the source highlights. Despite his staggering accomplishments, those who interacted with him didn't encounter an imposing, arrogant scholar trying to assert dominance.
Yeah.
They encountered a gentle soul, a compassionate listener, and a thoughtful mentor. He was likely the smartest person in any room he walked into, yet he consciously chose to behave like a student.
This feels like the perfect moment to contrast his mindset with the modern reality you and I are living in today.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I mean, we are operating in the digital hot take economy.
we really are.
Intellectual discourse today is largely about brand building, monetizing opinions, and generating viral outrage. The intellect is frequently used as a bludgeon to win arguments and make the other side look foolish.
It's performative.
Exactly. In that environment, Dr. Iqbal's philosophy that knowledge is purely a tool to serve and elevate the person listening to you feels radically countercultural.
It acts as an incredible diagnostic tool for our own behavior, honestly.
Right. If you apply his mindset today, before you speak, post, or write, you have to run it through a very uncomfortable filter.
Which is?
Is the information I am about to share designed to elevate my own status, or is it genuinely designed to help the person on the receiving end?
Wow. Is this for me or is this for them?
Exactly.
That simple question strips away so much ego, and it beautifully encapsulates the summary of this tribute document. The text notes that his passing in 2026 leaves a profound, irreplaceable void in Kashmir's intellectual and cultural history.
It's a huge loss.
It is. But the ultimate lesson extracted from his life is this: true greatness lies not in what one accumulates.
Right.
Whether that's wealth, status, or even academic knowledge for its own sake, it lies entirely in what one gives away.
He exemplified the absolute highest form of altruism. He used his unique, specialized gifts entirely for the betterment of others.
Yeah.
He physically healed the sick, he mentally educated the curious, and he spiritually encouraged the young.
And the source promises that his legacy will endure.
سرود رفته باز آید که ناید، نسیمی از حجاز آید که ناید. سر آمد روزگار این فقیری، دگر دانای راز آید که ناید. یا رب اگر می آید آن دانای رازی، بده او را نوای دل گدازی. ضمیر امتان را می کند پاک، کلیمی یا حکیمی نی نوازی.